Sam, why don't you start off, if you can, by um, telling everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Thanks ever so much, Adam, and thanks so much for inviting me onto the podcast today. I'm Sam Monaghan. I am CEO of Methodist Homes MHA. I have been for the past 6 years. I have worked in the care sector now for uh, probably approaching 38, 39 years. The first 32 were in the children's sector of care. So worked for three local authorities and also for a number of the larger children's charities like Barnardo's and Action for Children. And then I jumped the wire to the completely opposite end of the age spectrum 6 years ago to
Right.
join MHA as the CEO.
Fabulous. Congratulations. That's quite some pedigree and background you have there. So congratulations. So let's get straight in. So enhancing quality of care for residents in your 75 care homes. So tell us all about how you approach that.
Yeah, I think there are several strands, Adam, that make for care homes to provide that enhanced quality of life, really, not just care, but quality of life for our residents. And what I'm always struck by, I go out and see our homes and our schemes every fortnight or every week where possible. And I'm always struck by, first of all, I suppose it's the person-centered nature, the relationship-centered nature of the attitude of our care colleagues to
Mm,
working alongside residents. And one of the things I've been really proud of at MHA, just shortly after I joined, we developed a program called the Engaging Leaders Program, which is for all our managers right across our organization. And it's very much about fostering a coaching style of management and support to colleagues. And you can really see the evidence of that in the way that our colleagues then work around the home, that they're enabled and empowered to take initiative and to really develop relationship with the residents. On top of that, clearly, you have all the requirements, if it's suppose like the hygiene factors really of running a care home, the
mm,
quality of the buildings, the quality of the food, the quality of the day-to-day experience. But for me, I suppose it's the additionality that I've experienced at MHA, which I'm so proud of, which is we provide music therapy in all our homes where people are living with dementia. So across, I think it's probably around 60 of our homes where we've got people living with dementia. A music therapist goes in for sessions, which are both individual, but also on a group basis. And those have really been shown to decrease anxiety and stress and also really engage people with memory and able
mm,
to think back to things that have been so important to them in the past.
mm.
Other things that we have is we also have a chaplain in all of our homes. Our heritage, we were founded about just over 80 years ago by somebody from the Methodist Church, Reverend Walter Hall, and providing support for people's spiritual life, whether they are people of the Christian faith, other faiths, or people who don't have a faith, but providing that recognition of the spiritual alongside the mind and body is really important. And back in the day, we used to have many a minister or member of clergy from whatever faith come in to support our residents. Increasingly, they're stretched. So about 10 years ago, MHA took the step to employ chaplains across all our homes and schemes, and they provide almost like a presence where
Mm,
they're not focused on the day-to-day care, and they can spend time fostering relationship and working with people around, at this point in life, people are coping with a huge amount of change and loss and grief. And
mm,
actually having people there who can bring a sense of opportunity to talk through those things, find rituals and traditions that help them on a day-to-day basis in terms of that kind of accommodation at this stage in life is
right.
so powerful. And it's hugely powerful as well for relatives to be able to support them as well as they go through those later stages of life and to
Mm,
support our colleagues who are supporting residents and relatives, often coming to terms with, an ongoing grief process, because obviously we lose many people, as all care home providers do over the period of time. And they so came to the fore during the pandemic when clearly that incidence of loss
sure.
and fear was absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And our chaplains really stepped up and were a huge support within our homes in terms of coping with that and all the challenges
Mm.
that presented.
And those chaplains, are they based at the home? Are they employed by
Yeah.
the home, or how are they
Yeah,
like full time?
they're employed by MHA and
Yeah.
sited in each home. Sometimes
Uh,
chaplains will cover one or two homes or a home and one of our
I see.
retirement schemes,
Yeah.
but they are based in those, so they're part of the community. And part of the benefit is also they then are able to reach out into the local community,
Mm.
link up with other faith organizations and groups, and link into the broader community as well. So they're a real kind of linchpin. And I suppose that links me on really to the other thing that I've so enjoyed seeing in our homes. And I know other providers will do this, but you kind of feel it's just so intrinsic. And that's kind of intergenerational work where
Mm.
we've got real links out into local schools, uniformed organizations, a whole breadth and range of opportunities to bring the outside community in and take our communities in our homes out into those communities. So I was up at one of our homes a little while ago, and at 10:30, a load of children came through the gate in a crocodile, and they were coming in to do reading practice with some of our residents. So they were all junior school children, and they were about 16 of them brought in, and they each sat with one of the residents in the home, and they listened to them reading, so the reading practice. So actually seeing that agency, that ability for people to still find an opportunity to give back, whatever age they are, and also the blessing then of obviously having those children go into the home and the life and the spark that they bring into that environment too.
Yeah, no, sure. That sounds fabulous. I'm just going back to what you mentioned at the top was about the engaging leaders and the coaching style. So
Yeah.
tell me about how you bring about that in practice.
Yeah.
What's required from where you stand to bring encourage that and bring it about. What real and practical measures and guidance does that involve from yourself?
Yeah. So it's a program, as I say, that we set up a number of years ago, and it
Mm,
involves four, if you like, two groups of 2 days, where people come together right from across the organization. So what you've got is it brings together people with really diverse backgrounds.
mm,
Second part of it is that we focus on personal well-being. So we focus on, are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? How are you actually having breaks? How are you enriching your own life so that when you
mm,
show up for work, you're in that good state? And then looking at, okay, what are the ways that you can work with your colleagues so you're not just kind of telling what to do or directing what to do. Sometimes that's necessary, but most of the
mm,
time, what we're trying to do is empower people to be
mm,
the best that they can be in their setting in the home. And
mm,
all the members of our leadership team, including myself, have all done the course. And
mm,
we go on with colleagues from right across the organization as well. And it's a really good way of building bridges and also getting an insight as to how other people, so you're sharing practice that people have developed over many years in terms of how they coach and support their colleagues. And that's then followed up by a number of kind of buddying sessions for
right.
colleagues. They maintain the spirit of it. And many of those relationships have continued. And we also then have done subsequent courses where we've looked at performance management and those kind of things. But the heart of it is the whole thing about if you take care of yourself, if you're feeling motivated, confident, assured, actually you can then give that out to others, encourage them to give it out. And it's kind of like that chain that then sets up a virtuous circle of people kind of giving to one another in that space.
Yeah, I see. And Sam, to have this structure of this engaging leaders strategy, is this something that you yourself have learned previously and you've brought here, or did you have like external advice, someone coming in and giving you some guidance about how to implement it and what to do and how to structure these budding
Yeah.
sessions, for example?
Yeah, we brought in some colleagues who'd had experience of working in a more coaching style,
Right.
so that we could actually work with our internal colleagues in our HR department to develop
Mm,
the program, and then piloted it with a number of managers to see if actually we were getting the tone right, if the content was balanced right throughout the course. and also to make sure that it was not one of those things that's just kind of like a one hit. So the first 2 days has a break then of 2 months before the second two. So you've got opportunity for practice, reflection. And it's very much a course where you're learning on the job. So you're doing
Mm.
coaching sessions and practicing that coaching style. And the feedback we've had has been tremendous from colleagues saying that it's actually enabled them to take a more reflective style in their own self-management, as well as then supporting their colleagues to do likewise. But it was something that I've not seen lived out in quite this way. And we
Wow.
were developing it at the same point as I arrived. And so we very much have then pioneered it and sustained it. It obviously took a hit during the pandemic.
Right.
But we had this view of trying to move it online, but it really wasn't the same as bringing people together, that human connection
Mm.
and ability to learn from one another.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds great. And it's a fascinating area, this of developing this culture, if you like, which you're talking about the person's own wellness.
Yes.
But it's a cliche word isn't empower. I don't but in many senses, but there is many of those leaders of care organizations I speak to, the ones certainly who obviously are the more successful, do have this ethos running around
Yeah.
where they it's enabling their teams
I
feel
think
that
you
they are
can't.
doing the right thing and to trust them because and then if you get that right you actually end up doing
Yeah.
very little at the top.
And I think there's something about an organization finding a way to demonstrate that it values its
Mm,
colleagues. Um,
mm,
and you can only ever work through the cascade process when you're in a large organization like we are. So it
mm,
has to be something that flows through from the management, the leadership of the organization. And if they feel valued, then they will then value the colleagues that they're supporting, and they will pass that on. And I think if you can do that, align that with your purpose, and obviously we're working in a sector where people are hugely motivated and dedicated, vocational in terms of
mm,
wanting to make a difference.
mm,
And so you're capturing that whole valuing essence and really able to build on that. And I mean, we all know, don't we, that people can't give out of feeling empty.
mm.
They can only give when they themselves feel that they are supported and equipped and valued in what they're doing. And that then has the ultimate benefit of enhancing the lives of our residents. And I think one of our values as an organization is about inspiring each other. And we see that as much about our residents inspiring our colleagues and our managers throughout the organization as us trying to inspire and enrich their lives too. And when I
Mm.
go out, when I'm talking to our residents and talking to our colleagues, the richness of the lives lived, the kind of the stories, the contributions that they can make. I met an elderly gentleman in one of our community services the other day who is 93, and he bakes every week for the community scheme that he's part of.
Mm.
And it's his sense of agency and his contribution that is just so important. And I think we need to find ways that it's not a receiving environment, it's a place to give, a place to have agency as well.
Yeah, yeah. And for those who are listening and thinking, they might like to introduce something similar into their own organization, and again, it's whether you're a single home or a multiple home operator, what would you advise them as the first steps to going about implementing it?
I think to really consider within the kind of whatever learning development mechanism that you have in your organization, large or small, how you might bring in more of a coaching style and actually bringing somebody who's maybe worked in that sphere
Mm,
to actually help you create a program that works with the values, with the ethos, with the culture of your organization. And I think if you can, because it's got to be authentic and it's got to be owned right
mm,
from the
mm.
most senior of managers in the organization right through, if it's going to have credibility and credence. And I think it has to be something that people then feel so enabled by that they almost can't help wanting to then make it contagious in terms
Yeah,
of the way they deliver it.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
got to be energy about it. It can't just be a kind of prescription.
Yeah, sure, sure. That sounds great. So, if we can just move on to, I know how much importance and pride you have in your music therapy, for example. We talked about the chaplains, but and obviously dementia care is such an
Yeah,
increasingly
yeah.
vital and prominent public health interest. So, tell
Yeah.
me more about that and how you went about it and how you implemented the gains that you feel you have from it.
Yeah, so I think we, like all care home operators, there are so many people who are diagnosed, but so many people who are undiagnosed, who are
Hmm.
living with dementia, potentially early stages. And so it's about equipping the whole staff team with an understanding and appreciation, not only of how they can understand dementia and how you then support people, but also then often how you work with the relatives so that they've got that. And we do a program of training for relatives as well as for our own colleagues on how to engage, how to understand, how, in a sense, sometimes not to take personally some of the implications and the reactions that are happening. But it's then about we're continually evolving and developing. So we've brought in robotic pets. We've got these hug dolls, which have got kind of heartbeat that support. We have
Yeah.
actively always developing our green spaces. So we've got amazing number of our homes where we've really developed the garden because actually nature and therapeutic horticulture
Hmm.
is a real bonus because people are engaging multiple senses. And so I think what you're trying to do often with dementia and people living with dementia is find multiple ways of engaging, retrieving memory and facility so that they are in a position to live life as fully as they possibly can. And I think it's about as well all the practicalities. I remember going out to one of the first homes I visited and just seeing how they organized the meal times with different tablecloths so that people had that sense of what's breakfast, what's lunch, what's dinner.
I got
So
it. Yeah.
it's a whole, it has to be a whole environmental approach to the way
Mm.
that people are engaged with. And each person will be individual on their journey, but it's giving that broad understanding to our colleagues. And particularly, obviously, then when you're working with people who have got dementia and nursing needs, so that you're then able to facilitate their care in a way that seeks to minimize distress and minimize confusion, especially when things can feel invasive. And I think, we all learnt through the pandemic in particular, trying to support and keep safe people who are walking with purpose in a care home was just so difficult because obviously they were
Mm.
wanting to move around and not and fearful when they felt constrained. So I think there's a huge amount of learning that we're continually building on, and we have got we're now on our second strategy in relation to this, and it is about that whole thing of trying to build the infrastructure and look at all the sensory ways in which we can engage with people. And our music therapy is key, but also our chaplain is often key as well. And we're trying to make our services in our homes dementia friendly as well, and trying to make sure, obviously, that the built environment is as dementia friendly as it possibly can be.
And when you say it's your second strategy, so this is like a, formalized, a kind of in-house formalized
Yeah,
strategy that you
yeah,
have, which is kind of modified and changed
yeah,
as you go along, right? And then I guess is this correct to be down? It's then down to the managers to implement it in the home. I'm
yeah.
curious to know to what extent are some of these activities you mentioned, to what extent they are third party coming in, or is it members of your own team that are involved here. Maybe you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, so an awful lot of it is done in-house.
Hmm.
So obviously music therapists are all employed across our services.
Right.
The because what we found was it was so difficult to access them on an individual basis in particular areas. So we employ about 30 music therapy professionals across our services. We obviously purchased a whole range of equipment that then enables people to be supported. We obviously have things like people with therapy dogs who come into the home, and we encourage all our homes to link with local network of specialist services so that if we have got opportunities for engagement on a broader theme. So whether it's with a local dementia cafe that they might go out to, so that everything isn't just happening within the home. But the other thing we're trying to do is build across our services so that our community-based services also link in with our care homes and our retirement living, so that we get the benefit of the different kind of opportunities that are created in each of those to do that. So yeah, a lot of it is done internally, but then trying to work with the local economy in terms of the dementia support services that are out there, and then working with national organisations as well to inform practice.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds great. And I'm just got a curiosity question. Is Sam, for you as an organization, has AI in any ways taken an galvanized interest for how you run services? I'm just curious to know whether someone on the shop, on the front as you are, whether it's kind of crept in some way in some delivery service or how you run as an organization.
I think if I'm honest, it's patchy at the moment. So we are
Mm,
looking at how we can use technology to aid the delivery of services in our homes, whether that's kind of trialing acoustic monitoring. There's a project down in the south where we're working with the local authority in terms of falls monitoring through kind of video assisted recording, and using things like obviously Alexa, Google Dot, other
yeah.
sort of communication are available. But I think we are starting to explore how AI might be able to be utilized, but I think there's a huge learning
Mm,
curve we need to go on to understand the opportunities. I think the other challenge is, and I don't know whether any of your other contributors have talked about this, is clearly if you're a larger provider or you've got a significant number of homes, it's how you embark on and what you choose to replicate across your estate if you're going down that route. And so there has to be some kind of digital and technological strategy and consideration. And I think we are starting to develop that now, but I think we are very much in the early days, and also trying to look at what's going on in the local health economy, social care economy, in the places where our homes are, to see what we can learn so that we can actually take some soundings as to what seems to be having great effect. Because you feel like you could actually spend quite a lot of funds on developing, but what you need to do is make sure that it's as effective and practice researched as possible
mm.
before you embark on that. But AI, we're already starting to use it in terms of our administrative and learning processes. But I think we've got a huge way to go in terms of flexing and learning how that can impact the way that we deliver our services.
That's great, Sam. Thank you. Well, this has been a great episode. Sam, is there anything that you've not covered that you feel that you should be mentioning?
I suppose the only thing I just revert back to is just about the green care, which has been really exciting development since I've been at
Yeah.
MHA. We've got a huge garden on the back of one of our garden is too small a word for it, on the back of one of our homes, which has been developed with Heritage Lottery funding to be
Nice.
an easily accessible wilderness garden. And we've got a whole range of our homes where we've got enthusiasts who work to really, often volunteers who come in to work alongside our care home colleagues and residents to develop gardens. But in that particular one, it's been a window to see how well you can then develop that as a community resource. So now we have groups with people who from the local community who have got learning difficulties, people who are recovering from health conditions, groups like AA, others, and local schools who are doing kind of homework clubs. And it all adds to the environment and the life of the home. And I think that whole thing of, often care homes can almost be secluded and away from, even if they're in the midst of an estate, but somehow away from the main mill of people in those areas, and actually finding ways to bring the outside in and take our communities outside is so important to the life and building that quality and enhancement of life that we seek to do.
Yeah, that sounds fabulous. Great. Sam, thank you so much. Now, just if anyone would like, after listening to this episode, thinking, I wouldn't mind picking Sam's brain on this, but how could they reach you?
Yeah, so sam.monaghan at mha.co.uk is my email address. So yeah, please do get in touch, or you can go to our website, MHA website, to find out more as well.
That's great. Sam, thank you so much for being on the Care CEO Success Stories podcast.
Thank you very much indeed. Really enjoyed it, Adam.